Chloe never imagined that pretending to be engaged to a millionaire would be the easiest job she'd ever had, until she realized she was actually falling in love with him. What started as a simple business arrangement to help tech mogul Ryan Matthews avoid an unwanted marriage proposal from a family friend had become something far more complicated when Chloe discovered that Ryan's cold, calculating exterior hid a wounded heart that desperately needed healing. But when Ryan's real feelings for Chloe threatened to destroy the merger that could save his family's company, she must choose between the money that could change her life forever and the love that already has. Before we dive into Chloe's unexpected journey from fake engagement to real love in the glamorous world of high society and corporate intrigue, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. Your support helps us bring you more captivating romantic drama stories every week. Now, let's discover how one desperate proposal changed everything for Chloe Parker and the millionaire who never believed in love. Chloe Parker had always believed that money couldn't buy happiness, but standing in the unemployment office for the third time in 6 months, she was beginning to think that money could at least buy peace of mind. At 25, Chloe was a talented graphic designer who had been laid off from her dream job at a boutique advertising agency when the company lost its biggest client. Despite her impressive portfolio and strong work ethic, the competitive nature of the creative industry had made finding new employment far more difficult than she had anticipated. Chloe's financial situation was becoming increasingly desperate. She had burned through her savings during her job search, fallen behind on rent for her small studio apartment in Manhattan, and was seriously considering moving back to her hometown in Ohio to live with her parents until she could get back on her feet. The prospect of admitting defeat and returning home was humiliating for someone who had moved to New York with such high hopes and ambitious dreams. Chloe's salvation came from an unexpected source: a classified advertisement in the back of a high-end lifestyle magazine that she had been reading in a coffee shop while nursing a single cup of coffee for 2 hours because she couldn't afford to buy anything else. The ad was deliberately vague about the specific requirements of the position, but Chloe was desperate enough to respond despite her reservations about what kind of work might pay so well for such minimal time commitment. She sent her resume and a professional headshot to the email address provided, not expecting to hear back from what she assumed was either a scam or something she wouldn't feel comfortable doing. But within hours of submitting her application, Chloe received a response requesting that she attend an interview the following afternoon at a prestigious office building in Midtown Manhattan. The email was professional and formal, giving no indication of what the position actually entailed, but providing enough legitimacy to convince Chloe that it was worth investigating. Chloe arrived at the interview dressed in her most professional outfit, a navy blue suit that she had bought for her previous interviews and that represented one of the last nice pieces of clothing in her increasingly sparse wardrobe. The office building was clearly expensive and exclusive, with marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and the kind of understated luxury that suggested serious money. The interview was conducted by a woman named Patricia Sullivan, who appeared to be in her 50s and carried herself with the kind of polished confidence that came from years of working with wealthy and powerful people. Patricia explained that she was the personal assistant to Ryan Matthews, the CEO and founder of Matthews Technology Solutions, one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country. Patricia told Chloe that Mr. Matthews needed someone to pose as his fiancée for a series of social and business events over the next 3 months. The arrangement would be strictly professional and temporary, requiring Chloe to attend dinners, charity galas, and corporate functions, while maintaining the illusion that she and Ryan were engaged to be married. Patricia explained that Ryan's family had been pressuring him to settle down, and that a persistent family friend named Victoria Ashworth had been making increasingly aggressive attempts to position herself as a potential wife.
Ryan needed a fake fiancé to deflect Victoria's advances and satisfy his family's concerns about his bachelor status long enough to complete a crucial business merger that required his complete focus and attention. The compensation Patricia offered was staggering: $50,000 for 3 months of work, plus a complete wardrobe of appropriate clothing, jewelry, and accessories. Patricia emphasized that the arrangement would be purely business, with no physical intimacy expected or desired, and that Chloe would be provided with her own bedroom in Ryan's penthouse apartment to maintain the appearance of cohabitation. Chloe was simultaneously intrigued and terrified by the proposal. The money would solve all of her immediate financial problems and give her breathing room to find legitimate employment in her chosen field. But the idea of pretending to be engaged to a stranger, even temporarily, felt dishonest and potentially dangerous in ways she couldn't fully anticipate. Patricia must have sensed Chloe's hesitation because she provided additional details about Ryan's character and background that were clearly intended to reassure her about his trustworthiness. Ryan was 32 years old, had built his tech company from nothing into a multi-million-dollar enterprise, and was known for his integrity and professionalism in business dealings. He had never been married, had no criminal background, and was described by everyone who worked with him as demanding but fair. After considering the offer for 24 hours, Chloe decided to accept the position. Her financial desperation outweighed her reservations about the unconventional nature of the work, and she reasoned that 3 months of pretending to be someone else's fiancé was preferable to moving back home in defeat. Chloe met Ryan Matthews for the first time in his penthouse apartment on the Upper East Side, a stunning space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park and furnishings that looked like they belonged in a luxury hotel. Ryan was exactly what Chloe had expected from Patricia's description: tall, dark-haired, impeccably dressed, and radiating the kind of confidence that came from exceptional success at a young age. But what Chloe hadn't expected was how handsome Ryan would be in person, or how his presence would affect her ability to think clearly and professionally. Ryan had the kind of classic good looks that belonged in magazines, combined with an intensity and intelligence that made him even more attractive than his physical appearance alone would suggest. Ryan was all business during their initial meeting, reviewing the terms of their arrangement with the same attention to detail that he probably applied to corporate contracts. He explained the backstory they would use to explain their relationship. They had met through mutual friends, had been dating quietly for several months, and had recently become engaged. Ryan provided Chloe with an expensive engagement ring and detailed information about his family, friends, and business associates that she would need to know to play her role convincingly. Ryan's demeanor toward Chloe was polite but distant, making it clear that he viewed their arrangement as a business transaction rather than anything remotely personal. He showed Chloe to her bedroom in the penthouse, which was beautifully decorated and completely private, and established ground rules about their living arrangement that emphasized maintaining professional boundaries at all times. Over the first few weeks of their fake engagement, Chloe accompanied Ryan to a series of business dinners and social events where she was introduced as his fiancée to his family, friends, and colleagues. The events were unlike anything Chloe had ever experienced, taking place at exclusive restaurants and private clubs where a single meal cost more than she used to spend on groceries in a month. Chloe found the role of fake fiancé easier to play than she had anticipated. Her background in graphic design had given her an appreciation for fashion and aesthetics, and the expensive wardrobe Patricia had arranged for her made her look like she belonged in Ryan's wealthy social circle. More importantly, Chloe was naturally charming and intelligent, qualities that made her popular with Ryan's friends and family, regardless of her actual background. But as Chloe spent more time with Ryan, she began to notice that his cold, businesslike exterior was masking something much more complex and interesting. During their public appearances, Ryan was charming and attentive, playing the role of devoted fiancé with convincing enthusiasm. But in private moments, Chloe caught glimpses of loneliness and vulnerability that suggested Ryan's emotional life was far more complicated than his professional success would indicate. Chloe learned from conversations with Ryan's family and friends that he had been deeply hurt by a previous relationship that had ended badly several years earlier. His ex-girlfriend, Amanda, had been primarily interested in his money and social status, and when Ryan discovered her infidelity and gold-digging motivations, he had become cynical and guarded about romantic relationships. Ryan's retreat into purely professional relationships had concerned his family, particularly his mother, who worried that her son was becoming isolated and emotionally unavailable. Ryan's fake engagement to Chloe was partly motivated by his desire to stop his family's matchmaking attempts, but Chloe began to suspect that it was also a way for him to avoid dealing with his own emotional needs and fears about trust and intimacy. As their public appearances continued, Chloe found herself genuinely enjoying Ryan's company and conversation. Behind his businessman facade, Ryan was funny, thoughtful, and passionate about his work in ways that reminded Chloe of her own dedication to creative projects. He asked about her background in graphic design with genuine interest, and he encouraged her to continue pursuing her own career goals even while fulfilling their temporary arrangement. Chloe was surprised to discover that Ryan was not the typical wealthy playboy she had expected, but rather someone who worked incredibly hard and felt genuine responsibility for the employees and investors who depended on his company's success. The business merger he was pursuing would allow Matthews Technology Solutions to expand internationally, creating hundreds of new jobs and positioning the company for long-term growth and stability. But the merger negotiations were complicated by the involvement of Victoria Ashworth's family's investment firm, which was one of the key players in the deal. Victoria had made it clear that her romantic interest in Ryan was connected to her family's business relationship with his company, creating a situation where rejecting her advances could potentially jeopardize the merger that was so important to Ryan's future plans. Chloe's role as fake fiancé was working perfectly to deflect Victoria's romantic pursuits, but it was also creating unexpected complications in Chloe's own emotional life. The more time she spent with Ryan, the more she found herself genuinely caring about him as a person, rather than simply fulfilling the terms of their business arrangement. Ryan seemed to be experiencing similar complications. During their private moments in the penthouse, he began to relax his professional demeanor and treat Chloe more like a friend than an employee. They started having long conversations over dinner, sharing stories about their backgrounds and dreams for the future. And Chloe could see that Ryan was beginning to view her as a real person, rather than simply a hired actress playing a role. The turning point in their relationship came during a weekend retreat at Ryan's family's estate in the Hamptons, where they were expected to maintain their engaged couple facade for 48 hours straight in front of Ryan's parents, siblings, and extended family. The constant performance of romantic intimacy required them to hold hands, exchange affectionate glances, and display the kind of casual physical comfort that real couples took for granted. During a quiet moment on the estate's private beach, Ryan surprised Chloe by telling her that he was having difficulty remembering that their relationship wasn't real. He admitted that her presence in his life had made him happier and more relaxed than he had been in years, and that he was beginning to dread the end of their 3-month arrangement. Chloe was moved by Ryan's honest admission, and she found herself confessing that she had developed genuine feelings for him as well. She told Ryan that what had started as a purely financial arrangement had become the most meaningful relationship she had ever experienced, and that she was terrified of returning to her old life when their fake engagement came to an end. Ryan and Chloe's mutual admission of real feelings created a new dynamic in their relationship, But it also complicated their original agreement in ways that neither of them had anticipated. They were still bound by the terms of their business arrangement, and Ryan was still dependent on their fake engagement to navigate the merger negotiations and family pressures that had motivated their agreement in the first place. But their growing emotional intimacy made it increasingly difficult to maintain the professional boundaries they had originally established. They began spending more private time together, sharing meals and conversations that had nothing to do with their public performance as an engaged couple, and both of them started to wonder whether their fake relationship could transition into something real and lasting. The crisis that forced them to confront their true feelings came when Victoria Ashworth discovered the truth about their fake engagement. Victoria had hired a private investigator to research Chloe's background, and the investigation had revealed that Chloe and Ryan had no history together before their business arrangement began. Victoria confronted Ryan with evidence of the fake engagement, threatening to expose the deception to his family and business partners unless he ended his relationship with Chloe and agreed to seriously consider Victoria's romantic advances. Victoria made it clear that her family's participation in the merger would be contingent on Ryan's cooperation with her personal demands. Ryan was faced with an impossible choice: maintain his fake engagement with Chloe and risk losing the business deal that could secure his company's future, or sacrifice his growing relationship with Chloe to protect the livelihoods of his employees and the investments of his business partners. Chloe could see the anguish that Ryan's dilemma was causing him, and she made the decision to remove herself from the equation by voluntarily ending their arrangement and leaving New York. She told Ryan that she wouldn't be responsible for jeopardizing his business success, and that their fake engagement had served its original purpose by giving him time to focus on the merger negotiations. Ryan's willingness to risk his business success for their relationship convinced Chloe that his feelings for her were genuine and deep. She realized that Ryan had grown beyond the emotionally guarded person she had first met, and that their fake engagement had helped him learn to trust and love again despite his fears about being hurt or taken advantage of. Ryan proposed to Chloe for real during a private dinner in their penthouse, presenting her with a new engagement ring that he had chosen specifically for her rather than as a prop for their business arrangement. He told Chloe that their fake engagement had taught him the difference between performing love and actually experiencing it, and that he wanted to spend the rest of his life making her as happy as she had made him. Chloe accepted Ryan's proposal without hesitation, knowing that their love had been tested by the unusual circumstances of their meeting and had proven to be stronger than the financial considerations that had originally brought them together. She realized that the best relationships were built on genuine understanding and mutual respect, rather than shared backgrounds or social compatibility. Ryan successfully completed his business merger with alternative financing, proving that his company's value and potential were strong enough to attract investors who weren't motivated by personal agendas. Victoria's attempt to manipulate him through business pressure had ultimately failed, and Ryan's integrity in refusing to be blackmailed had actually enhanced his reputation in the corporate community. Chloe and Ryan were married 6 months later in a ceremony that included both their families and proved that love could bridge differences in background and social status. Chloe's parents were initially overwhelmed by Ryan's wealth and success, but they quickly came to appreciate his genuine love for their daughter and his respect for the values that had shaped her character. Ryan's family was equally pleased with his choice of a real bride, recognizing that Chloe had brought warmth and authenticity into Ryan's life in ways that no amount of money or social status could provide. They could see that Chloe loved Ryan for who he was as a person rather than what he could provide materially, and that her presence had made him more open, generous, and happy than he had been in years. Chloe returned to her career in graphic design with Ryan's enthusiastic support, eventually starting her own design firm that specialized in working with tech companies and startups. Ryan's business connections and Chloe's creative talents made them an effective team, and they discovered that their different backgrounds and skills complemented each other perfectly in both personal and professional contexts. The millionaire's fake fiancée had become his real wife and true partner, proving that the most authentic relationships could sometimes begin with the most artificial arrangements. Their love story became a testament to the power of genuine connection to transform even the most calculating business deal into something beautiful and lasting, and to the truth that real love was always worth more than any amount of money or social status. As they settled into married life, both Ryan and Chloe reflected on the unexpected journey that had brought them together and the lessons they had learned about trust, authenticity, and the difference between performing emotions and actually feeling them. They had discovered that the most valuable things in life couldn't be bought or negotiated, but could only be found through the courage to open your heart to someone who truly understood and appreciated who you were beneath all these surface appearances and social expectations.